Grem460 here again, talking about the rifle modification for the AS2. For those that are familiar with the AS2 or not familiar with the AS2, it's basically a resizing machine that is used to resize projectiles fed down through a tube here in the unit. Normally there's a large tube, or there's actually a Gatling magazine standing on the top with 150 casts in it, allowing you to quickly resize all the casts that you've made depending on whatever size of die that you put in it. Well, anyway, these ones here were basically made for pistol casts, and I've had some people ask me if I could do a rifle modification so that these will actually do a rifle cast. So the difference between the rifle cast and the pistol cast, as you can see, is quite large. These ones here were sent to me from a guy in the United States. This is a 308 240 grain, and as you can see, it's quite a long projectile. Locally I was able to source some 150 grain. This one's jacketed, but it gives you an idea of the distance and the length of the actual thing. Here's a berries, which is a pistol one as well. Gives you an idea of the various lengths that is possible in the casts. Now when it comes to sizing bullets, dropping one down a hole is not a drama. However, the actual sizer, as you know, with the slide that it has inside, let me just grab one here, a slide that runs inside, when the cast is actually dropped into the delivery slide and moved across to drop into the sizing die, the length that it protrudes from the top does become a problem. And we have managed to bypass that, and I'm going to show you exactly how I've done it. I've made a little kit up that will do it for you, or after watching this video you'll be able to make your own as necessary. Now, converting this to do the the rifle length projectiles is not a drama. First of all, we'll pull the slide out of this one. This is just the feeder tube. This is the tube that actually feeds the bullets into the hole in the slide, and we'll just remove this for the moment and take the slide out so I can show you exactly how we change it from pistol to rifle. Now I'm just going to put my phone down, or the camera phone down a minute, and clip it into a stand so I don't wave it around, and I can show you how it's done. Okay, here we go. Right, this is a slide out of my sizer that I've taken out, and these are the projectiles that I normally resize. They're 124 grain out of a MyHeck mold, M&P mold, that I've just about removed the lube grooves out of. I don't know if you can still see, if the camera will pick it up. There are still slight indications of lube grooves, but I don't actually use lube grooves at all. So that's gone from 124 to 128 grain projectile. Normally in the machine they enter into the bottom here, and as you can see they sit just slightly underneath the surface of the actual slide, and that's the way the thing will function correctly. However, when we come along, this is just a basic block to act as the bottom. When we come along and we drop a rifle bullet in there, or a rifle cast, as you can see it sticks out quite severely. Now that is going to cause a problem when being delivered backwards and forwards. So this is the way we get around it. I'll go back to the original slide that I had here. As you can see, with the rifle bullet in it, the rifle cast, it sticks out quite severely. So what you actually do is you take another smaller block that will fit in between the rails on the AS2 and you fit that over the top. Well, let's have a look sideways now. It's still sticking a bit proud, and I'll show you on paper shortly why that is a drama. There is a way to fix that, and that's easy. I just got a piece of normal everyday gasket paper, and using the block, I put the block on there and I marked all the holes out, as you can see, and it acts as a spacer when you put it all together like that. And now we turn it sideways, you will see that that projectile now is slightly, just so slightly, below the surface of the block. That will work fine. So, alright, how do we get all this to stay together? Well, the answer is quite simple. Pretending that this block, well, this block here has no holes in it other than the one for the projectile. What you do is you get yourself one of these cheap biros. They're the hexagonal size ones, and they fit exactly in the hole. Grab whatever length block that you need, line it up through the two, make sure that the sides are parallel to the actual block themselves, and then just put a pin in each one of these and just punch it slightly with a hammer. What that will do is that will leave two small indentations on the bottom slide. Grabbing hold of a 3mm drill bit, drill these two holes through. Then this is where the tricky bit comes in. Turn the thing over, and from underneath, taking a 6mm drill bit, wrap some tape around the top of the drill bit so you can set what depth it's going to drill into, and you want the depth set about 2/3 of the block, leaving enough of the block over the top. Countersink these holes with the 6mm slowly, because it will bite into this nylon, but just countersink it slowly, so you then have a hole that is 3mm at the top but 6mm at the bottom, and the 6mm goes through 3/4 of the thickness of the block. So that's one fiddly bit. The next bit is the hold down screws. What we're going to do here is we take the nut off the hold down screw and we hold it over that 6mm. The screws are supplied in the kit and the nuts come in the kit. These nuts are actually 7mm point to point, so they are bigger than the hole. They won't fit in. But that's not a drama. What we're going to do is we're going to put a punch on the top of this nut, slide it into the AS2, and use the actual compression of the AS2 to push that nut all the way down till it bottoms out where the 3mm neck is. And as you've seen before in the videos here, this actually has a screw in it. See how the screw sits there? Alright, now there's a reason for countersinking the nut, and I'll let you know what that is shortly. So we know that to run these 240 308 grain projectiles, we need this thickness spacer plus a small shim, which is about 2mm. So if we put that on the top of there, and I'll grab a screwdriver in a second, and we'll just screw these two into on the top. One moment while I grab a screwdriver. Right, put your little biro in there to make sure it doesn't move in any way. Now the 3mm holes that were drilled in the top, I've countersunk slightly. So once these screws are in and firm, they don't have to be rock tight, but once they're in and firm, the screws are actually, as you can see, the screws are actually nicely countersunk. and we take the biro out, and as a test the cast drops all the way through. Alrighty, now pretend that's in the AS2. When this drops in, the actual projectile is a fraction, you can only just feel it, a couple of thou lower than the top of the slide. The reason for that is when your next bullet, your next cast is sitting on the top and the slide moves forward, if you stop for any reason, something goes wrong, you've got the wrong die in or something like that, when you go to move back, if this projectile sticks up above the actual block, it will catch on your next cast that's standing there. Now some round nose casts like these ones here, the round berries bullets, they're quite tolerant of that because of their shape. But if you've got flat nose casts, if you've got semi wad cutters, or if you've got something that's really pointy, it won't like the slide coming back with a cast still in it and hit it. So by seating this bullet cast slightly underneath the top of that, it's able to slide over the top of the original one and pop back out and slide back in as necessary. It's only a precaution, and if you never backtrack while you're sizing, it won't ever be a drama. But I found that sometimes some things will go wrong and you'll stop, and if you try to go back to your start position with a projectile that's sticking up over the block, it will foul on the next projectile, it will bend the frame, it will bend the feed tube, and it will do all horrible nasty stuff. So the easiest thing to do is just shim these two blocks like I did with a little piece in the middle until when it's sitting down, that cast is just fractionally under the top. Now the shim I used was gasket paper. You can use anything you like, cardboard, business cards, aluminium sheeting, Coke can, anything you like. It doesn't really matter as long as it's got the two holes to allow the screw through and a hole big enough for the cast to go through. The shim hole can be 3 times the size of that hole. It just must not interfere with the cast dropping through. So now this particular mold that this cast came out of will be slightly different than another manufacturer's mold. You might find that some of the projectiles are 3 mil shorter because they've only got 2 loop grooves, or they've got 5 loop grooves and they've made them a fraction longer to make up for the weight. So different manufacturers of molds and different manufacturers of the actual casting equipment means that your projectile may vary in length slightly. The easiest way to fix that is by choosing a shim or making your own shims and just shimming between the 2 blocks till it matches perfectly the actual projectile that you're using. To make things a little bit easier on everybody, if you've decided that you're finished sizing however many 240 grain projectiles and you want to go to the 140 or 160 grain, 180 grain, as you can see, this block is not going to work. With that projectile sitting all the way down in there, there's nearly a ½ inch drop. And you can just imagine if the next projectile came down and that slide tried to move forward, what kind of damage would happen to the feed location tube, etc, etc. But not a drama. What I've actually done in the rifle kit, you get 1 block of that height, you get another block that high, and you get a 3rd block. They're all exactly the same. You get another block 1/3, so you have 1/3, 2/3 and full height blocks. depending on the actual projectile that you want to use. If we were to pick this one, which is slightly shorter, and that one there, as you can see, it sticks up a fraction. Again, no problems. Shim until it's just below the level, like so, and everything will work fine. I'll show that from a different camera angle. You can see how that sticks up just slightly, and if you shim it out just a fraction, probably a mil or so, it will actually drop and be just level with the surface. So it's up to the end user and your particular cast and the mold that is dropping your cast at your particular length, just to build your own little range of shims that go between whichever block you're using at the particular time. Simple to make. I made that one in about 30 seconds, just a piece of gasket paper, 2mm thick gasket paper. I could put another one on there, I could put another 3 on there, it doesn't matter. Now we're talking about multiple shims if necessary, or a thicker material shim. That is the reason why these nuts are countersunk in so far. Now let me just pull this apart and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Pull that out. Pull that out. There we go, done, finished. Now I'll screw this one in so it just comes through the nut like so. It's just through the nut in there. That's its full height. Now I'll put this one in here just through this nut, and I will screw it all the way down, turning, 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 turning. Here it comes. As you can see, it's still under flush, it's not protruding, but look at the difference in height between this screw and that screw. See that? The difference from this height to that height. That is the adjustment capability that you get if, instead of leaving the nuts right down the bottom like some people would have done, if you shift the nuts all the way to nearly one third of the way from the top, you gain all that much adjustment between that one screw and the other. That's how much shim you need to change. Now, because these 3 things come in different sizes, as you can see from there, that's level. You can, if you needed to shim, you could put another block on the top and still have that much left. If you need to adjust this one, and if we slide it all the way around here, I still have 3 or 4 mil before that is level with the hole in there. So there's a lot of adjustment that can be done just by making yourself whatever shims to suit your particular mold and what it's dropping out of your mold. Now I'll put this back together again and slide it back into the AS2 and we'll have a look at it in action. Okay, I put it back together again. So come over here to the actual AS2, put the slide in, slide it all in, slide it back, drop the control bar on it. I haven't got a clip on there at the moment. There we go. Feed tube will have to sit a fraction higher, but that's easy to do. Sorry, I moved the camera in the wrong place. The feed tube that runs across here will have to sit it slightly higher, but that's all there is to it. As you can see, that drops in. It is slightly under the height of the other one. Just running it all through, punch it in, done. Next one will come along, drop in the hole, out of the feed tube, done. Now, I did have a concern. As you can see by this drop linkage, as it comes down, it comes to rest on the top of the actual block. However, if you follow the actuation arm up, the really long spring that every AS2 has got enough residual place to allow it to compress down the ram goes all the way down, touches at the bottom, no dramas at all. The spring is still not 100% like there's no spring bind there, it's not compressed 100%. And I did no change in that spring or any of the settings from pistol to rifle. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is really how easy it is. All you've got to do is take whatever size cast that you're casting with, take your suitable block with the diameter hole, whatever you're using. Once your 2 holes are drilled, they can stay there. You can still use it for running with a pistol. The 2 holes that go in there will have no effect on it. When you go for a short rifle, pick whichever one out of the 3 conversion blocks that you get. You can pick out the full height one, which is screwed on there. Let's get the ram out of the way. That's the full height one there. 2/3, 1/3, and whatever shim that you want to fit in the middle. That's how easy it is. It really is dead set easy. You can make your own blocks, you can make your own shims. It's so easy, this video really is partially a waste of time. Anyway, I hope that helps you guys out. You can see that the actual, it's not bolted down this, it's Sunday afternoon and I've got to pack this away and get it sent to America. So, and as you can see, once the feed tube is back in place, there's no dramas with whatever length rifle cast you want to use. However, I will tell you that these humongous lead spears that I was sent, these things, they really are just about as long as the AS2 is going to handle. If you need anything longer than that, I don't know what we're going to have to do to get it. Alright, that's about it from me. Sorry about rambling in the video as per usual. I'll send Hatch his AS2 in the morning, nice and early Monday morning. And I've got a couple of sets of these made over here that I've got to package up and send away to a few people over in the States. This is Grem460. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.